5 minutes, that is all I am going to ask of you today. Not a cooking class, not a complicated meal prep session, not a long list of ingredients you have never heard of that you need to order online and figure out how to use. And a framework so simple that once you understand it, you will never need to think about it again. It will simply be the way you build every meal for the rest of your life. I have been watching patients struggle with this for years. Not with motivation, not with discipline, not with the desire to eat better. They struggle with knowing exactly what to put on the plate, in the moment, at the stove, at the counter, when they are hungry and tired and do not have the bandwidth to consult a list of rules or calculate a glycemic index or measure portion sizes with a food scale. They struggle because nobody has ever given them a system simple enough to use every day without effort. Today, I want to give you that system, and I want to build it with you here right now, step by step, so that by the time this video ends, you can walk into your kitchen tonight and apply it immediately. Let me start with one sentence that contains everything. A glucose-friendly plate is half non-starchy vegetables, 1/4 quality protein, 1/4 slow carbohydrate, and a source of healthy fat somewhere on the plate. That is the whole system. 4 components, 1 rule for each, applied in a sequence that takes less than 5 minutes from empty plate to table-ready meal. Everything we have discussed across this entire series, the glycemic load, the fiber buffering, the protein for satiety and muscle preservation, the fat for satiety and anti-inflammation, the post-meal glucose curve, all of it is captured in that one sentence. Now let me build it out completely so you understand not just what to do, but why, and so you can make smart decisions within the framework when your specific ingredients or circumstances change. Let us start with the half. Half your plate is non-starchy vegetables. This is the foundation, the non-negotiable, the thing that does not change regardless of what else is on the plate. Non-starchy vegetables are the vegetables that grow above ground and contain high amounts of fiber and water relative to their carbohydrate content. They have a minimal effect on blood sugar. You can eat them in large quantities without meaningful glucose consequences. They are the free food category, filling, nutritious, and metabolically safe in any amount. The list is long, and it is worth knowing it well because it is the list you will reach for every time you build this plate. Leafy greens, spinach, arugula, kale, romaine, Swiss chard, collard greens, watercress, butter lettuce. These can be raw in a salad, wilted in a pan with olive oil, added to eggs, blended into soups. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, bok choy. These roast beautifully, steam quickly, and add significant fiber and sulfur compounds that support liver detoxification. Other non-starchy options, zucchini, cucumber, celery, bell peppers in all colors, tomatoes, green beans, asparagus, mushrooms, eggplant, artichokes, fennel, radishes, snap peas, half the plate. Always, every meal. When the plate is half full of these vegetables, several things happen simultaneously that protect blood sugar. First, the fiber physically slows the digestion of everything else on the plate. Even the carbohydrates in the quarter section will be absorbed more slowly because the gut is moving through a fiber-rich environment. Second, the volume fills the stomach and begins sending satiety signals to the brain before large amounts of glucose have entered the bloodstream. You eat slower, you stop sooner, the total glucose load from the meal is lower. Third, the water content of these vegetables dilutes the concentration of everything in the digestive tract, further slowing glucose absorption. The half plate of vegetables is doing structural work on your blood sugar curve before the carbohydrates have even reached the small intestine. This is why it is not optional. It is the mechanism, not just the garnish. Practically, for a 5-minute plate, the vegetables should be the ones that require the least preparation. A handful of baby spinach dressed with olive oil and lemon, sliced cucumber and bell peppers arranged alongside the protein, a cup of cherry tomatoes halved and placed on the plate, leftover roasted broccoli from the previous night reheated in 30 seconds, frozen spinach microwaved for 90 seconds and drained. None of these take more than 2 minutes. All of them deliver the fiber foundation that makes the rest of the plate work correctly. Now let us move to the 1/4. 1/4 of the plate is quality protein. We have discussed protein extensively in the protein threshold video and the hunger hormone video, but let me summarize what it does here in the context of building the plate. Protein is the primary suppressor of ghrelin, the hunger hormone. A meal with adequate protein suppresses appetite for significantly longer than a meal without it. This means fewer cravings between meals, fewer opportunities for unplanned snacking, and a more stable energy level through the afternoon and evening. Protein slows gastric emptying, the rate at which food leaves the stomach and enters the small intestine. This means glucose from the carbohydrates on the plate enters the bloodstream more gradually. The spike is blunted. The insulin response is moderated. Protein preserves muscle mass when consumed consistently across all 3 meals. And as we discussed in the muscle and blood sugar video, your skeletal muscle is the largest site of post-meal glucose disposal in the human body. Protecting muscle mass is protecting metabolic infrastructure. The target for this quarter portion is 30 to 40 grams of protein for adults over 60. That is approximately the size of a deck of cards for most animal protein sources, or slightly larger for plant-based sources. The quality protein options for the 5-minute plate are 2 to 3 eggs, scrambled, poached, or fried in olive oil. Eggs take 2 to 3 minutes from cold pan to plate. They are the fastest high-quality protein available. A portion of canned fish, sardines, tuna, or salmon drained and placed directly on the plate, 0 preparation time. Extraordinarily nutritious, rich in omega-3 fatty acids as a bonus. A portion of cooked chicken, turkey, or fish from a previous meal, reheated in 90 seconds. Meal prepping protein once or twice a week, roasting a large batch of chicken thighs or poaching a fillet of salmon means protein is always available on the plate in 30 seconds. A cup of plain Greek yogurt used as the protein component for breakfast or a light lunch plate. Rich in protein, probiotics, and calcium, requires no preparation. A cup of cooked lentils or chickpeas from a can, drained and rinsed, requires 30 seconds, or from a batch cooked earlier in the week. These are both protein and slow carbohydrate, which means they can occupy both the protein quarter and the carbohydrate quarter simultaneously. A useful flexibility when building plant-forward plates. A portion of cottage cheese, high in protein, mild in flavor, extremely fast to serve. The 5-minute plate relies on proteins that are either pre-cooked, canned, or naturally fast to prepare. If the protein requires 30 minutes in the oven, it is not a 5-minute plate protein. Build your kitchen so that cooked protein is always available, batch cook on Sunday, rely on canned fish and eggs during the week, and the protein quarter of every plate takes under 2 minutes to fill. Now let us move to the remaining quarter. 1/4 of the plate is a slow carbohydrate. This is the most important distinction in the entire framework. Not no carbohydrate, 1/4. And it must be a slow one. Slow carbohydrates are carbohydrates that release glucose gradually because they are high in fiber, intact in their grain structure, or resistant in their starch composition. We have discussed all of these categories across the series, but for the plate framework, the practical list of what belongs in this quarter is legumes, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, cannellini beans. These are the most glucose-friendly carbohydrates available. High in fiber, high in protein, low glycemic index. Rich in the fermentable fiber that drives the second meal effect. A 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of cooked legumes is the ideal carbohydrate quarter for most plates. A small portion of whole grain brown rice, quinoa, barley, whole grain farro, or whole grain sourdough bread from an artisan bakery. The portion is genuinely a 1/4 of the plate, about a 1/3 to 1/2 cup of cooked grain. Not a mound, not the dominant presence on the plate, a supporting player. Sweet potato, a small portion ideally cooked and cooled to form resistant starch or eaten in modest quantity with the skin. Dense whole grain rye bread, 1 slice as we discussed in the bread video, as one of the few bread options that genuinely has a low glycemic index. What does not belong in the carbohydrate quarter, regardless of how healthy it seems? White rice in large quantities, white pasta, white bread, instant oatmeal, crackers, corn in large amounts, or any starchy vegetable that dominates the plate. The carbohydrate quarter is not absent. It is present and it matters. The body needs carbohydrates and their complete elimination is neither sustainable nor necessary. But it is proportionate, and the choice within that quarter determines how gently or sharply blood sugar rises after the meal. 5-minute slow carbohydrates, canned lentils or chickpeas drained and added directly to the plate. A portion of cooked and cooled brown rice from the refrigerator. A slice of rye bread. A small sweet potato microwaved for 4 minutes. Now let us add the fat. A source of healthy fat somewhere on the plate. This does not need its own quarter. It threads through the other components. It is the olive oil used to dress the vegetables. It is the avocado sliced alongside the eggs. It is the walnuts scattered on the salad. It is the sardines packed in olive oil. It is the yolk of the egg that is already the protein quarter. Healthy fat serves 3 functions on this plate. First, it further slows gastric emptying, adding another layer of glucose buffering on top of the fiber from the vegetables and the slow carbohydrate. Second, it provides the anti-inflammatory compounds, oleic acid, omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenols that we discussed in the anti-inflammatory fats video, reducing the systemic inflammation that drives insulin resistance. Third, it makes the plate satisfying in a way that fiber and protein alone cannot fully achieve. The brain registers fat as deeply satiating. A plate without fat tends to leave people looking for something more even when the caloric content is sufficient. The 5-minute fat additions: a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil over the vegetables, half an avocado sliced onto the plate, a small handful of walnuts or almonds as a side, a tablespoon of tahini drizzled over the legumes. None of these require more than 30 seconds. Now let me address something that I know is in the mind of many people watching. This sounds reasonable when you describe it with spinach and lentils and salmon, but what about real life? What about the evening when you have 15 minutes before your daughter arrives and you need to eat something? What about the morning when you slept badly and nothing sounds appetizing? What about the lunch break that is shorter than expected and there is almost nothing in the refrigerator? The framework does not require perfect ingredients. It requires applying the structure to whatever is available. Let me give you 5 real examples of 5-minute plates that follow the framework with ordinary, accessible ingredients. Example 1, breakfast plate. 2 scrambled eggs cooked in olive oil. A large handful of baby spinach wilted in the same pan. Half an avocado sliced onto the plate. A 1/4 cup of canned chickpeas on the side, seasoned with salt and a pinch of cumin. Preparation time, 4 minutes. Protein, approximately 25 grams. Carbohydrate, slow from the chickpeas. Fat from the egg yolk, the olive oil, the avocado. Vegetables, the spinach covers half the plate. Blood sugar impact, gentle and sustained. Example 2, lunch plate. A can of sardines in olive oil, drained. A large bowl of mixed greens dressed with lemon juice and olive oil. A few slices of avocado. 1 slice of dense rye crisp bread on the side. Preparation time, 2 minutes. Protein, approximately 22 grams from sardines. Carbohydrate, minimal from the rye crisp bread. Fat, abundant from the sardines, olive oil, avocado. Vegetables, the greens fill the dominant portion of the bowl. Blood sugar impact, very low. Example 3, quick dinner plate. 2 portions of roasted chicken thighs from a batch cooked on Sunday, reheated in 90 seconds. A large pile of leftover roasted broccoli and zucchini reheated alongside. A half cup of lentils from a can, drained, warmed, and seasoned with olive oil and garlic powder. A drizzle of olive oil over everything. Preparation time, 4 minutes including reheating. Protein, approximately 35 grams. Carbohydrate, slow from the lentils. Fat, olive oil throughout. Vegetables, the broccoli and zucchini fill half the plate. Blood sugar impact, gentle and sustained. Example 4, no cook emergency plate. Plain Greek yogurt in a bowl. A large handful of blueberries and sliced strawberries mixed in. A tablespoon of almond butter swirled through. A small handful of walnuts on top. Preparation time, 90 seconds. Protein, approximately 20 grams from yogurt. Carbohydrate, slow, from the berries with their fiber. Fat, from the almond butter and walnuts. Vegetables, technically absent, but the berries provide significant fiber, polyphenols, and antioxidant value that partially substitutes. Blood sugar impact, low to moderate. Example 5, salad plate for any meal. A large base of arugula and spinach. 3 hard-boiled eggs from a batch prepared at the start of the week, sliced. Half a cup of canned chickpeas drained and seasoned. Sliced cucumber, cherry tomatoes, and bell pepper. Dressed with 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and lemon juice. Preparation time, 3 minutes. Protein, approximately 22 grams from eggs and chickpeas. Carbohydrate, slow from the chickpeas. Fat, olive oil, and egg yolk. Vegetables, the greens and raw vegetables fill the dominant portion of the bowl. Blood sugar impact, very low. These are not special occasion meals. They are weeknight meals, lunch break meals, tired Tuesday evening meals. They work because the framework is simple enough to apply with whatever is available, not just with ideal ingredients. Now let me show you how the 5-minute plate connects to the eating sequence we discussed in the post-meal fatigue and A1C videos. Remember, eat the vegetables first, then the protein, then the carbohydrate last. With the 5-minute plate, this happens naturally because the vegetables are already the most abundant component. Start there, work through the protein, end with the carbohydrate quarter. This sequence reduces the post-meal blood sugar spike by up to 37% compared to eating the carbohydrate first. Same food, same plate, 37% reduction from eating order alone. The plate is built for success. The sequence locks in the benefit. And immediately after finishing the plate, the post-meal walk. 10 to 15 minutes, immediately. The plate builds the conditions. The walk catches the blood sugar at its peak. Together they produce the glucose curve you have been working toward. Let me tell you about Eleanor. You may remember Eleanor from the sweeteners video. 67 years old, retired school librarian. She had made significant progress over the months we worked together. A 1C dropping, morning readings improving, the sucralose to stevia transition smoothing out her unexplained variability. But there was one thing Eleanor struggled with consistently: dinner. She managed breakfast well, she had a system for lunch, but dinner was where her discipline, in her words, went out the window. She would arrive home tired, look at the kitchen, and find herself making whatever was easiest rather than whatever was best for her blood sugar. White pasta with jarred sauce because it was fast, toast with butter and cheese because she did not want to cook, crackers and dip because she was too tired to stand at the stove. Not bad intentions, tired evenings, and no system simple enough to apply when she had nothing left. We built her a list of 5-minute plate combinations that she kept on her refrigerator door. A physical card, 5 options, each one written in 3 lines. Option 1, eggs, spinach, chickpeas, olive oil. Option 2, sardines, greens, avocado, rye crisp bread. Option 3, Greek yogurt, berries, almonds, cinnamon. Option 4, reheated chicken, broccoli, lentils, olive oil. Option 5, canned tuna, mixed salad, cucumber, olive oil dressing. The card stayed on the refrigerator. On tired evenings, she looked at the card, picked an option, and built the plate in 4 to 5 minutes. 3 months later, her evening glucose readings had become the most consistent of any time in her diabetes management. Not because she had learned complicated recipes, because she had a simple system available at the moment she needed it most. She told me, "I stopped making decisions at dinner. I just followed the card." That reduction in decision-making energy is precisely the point. Glucose-friendly eating does not fail because people do not care. It fails because it requires decisions at the moments when decision-making energy is lowest. The end of a long day, the 10 minutes before a meeting, the lunch break that turned out to be 5 minutes. The 5-minute plate framework eliminates the decision. You know the structure. You look at what is available. You fill the 4 components. You eat in the right sequence. You walk. No meal plan, no calorie counting, no app, no scale, just the framework applied consistently at every meal you eat. Before I close, the reminder that I include because it matters. If you are managing diabetes or any metabolic condition with medication, consistent improvement in post-meal glucose from better plate composition can affect how your medication is calibrated. Please keep your doctor informed as your eating patterns change and your glucose readings improve. The goal is medication that matches your actual metabolic state, not one that was set for a diet you no longer follow. And if you know someone who wants to manage their blood sugar better but feels overwhelmed by all the rules and guidelines and plans, someone who needs a system simple enough to use on a Tuesday night when they are exhausted, please share this video with them. The framework is simple because it has to be. Simple is the only kind that survives contact with real life. Next week, we are finally having the sleep conversation this entire series has been pointing toward: why sleeping badly is one of the most powerful metabolic disruptors in existence, what a single poor night does to your blood sugar, your hunger hormones, your inflammation, and your insulin sensitivity the next day, and what you can begin doing tonight even if sleep has been a struggle for years. Do not miss it. Subscribe, hit the bell. I will see you next week. I am Dr. Sterling. Take care of yourself tonight and make the plate 5 minutes, half vegetables, 1/4 protein, 1/4 slow carbohydrate, a source of healthy fat. That is all it takes.